Hello, Oinkers. It's Ben Elwood here. Today's episode is a live recording of our Sydney Fringe Festival show with the great guests Cameron Knight and Ben Kochan. And the word under discussion today is birth. Please follow and like the podcast. Give us 5 stars. And if you want to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, that helps a lot too. On with the show.
Birth.
Hello, Oinkers! Welcome to Oink Time Live!
Ben Elwood!
Jen Carnivale!
Welcome! Thank you for coming out. Welcome our wonderful guests.
Guys, welcome to the stage. He is one of my favourite comics going around today. The fantastic Ben Kochan!
And our second guest for tonight, he's awesome. It is also his birthday.
Oh!
I know. So please make him welcome Cam Knight.
How old are you today?
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't like
Isn't it
4 or something, is it?
I've chosen you to spend my time with on my birthday rather than my family.
Honoured.
That's how much
You've
I like
got
this.
kids and everything.
I've got kids. I'm just married, barely, the way a thread. My mother-in-law's in the house. It's oink time, bitches.
We are deeply honoured.
Oh, yeah.
I'm honoured to be here. I love this podcast.
We have two. So, okay, what we did today was we got these guys to pick a word, but we want you to decide which word we're going to do, okay? So the options are OCD and birth. So when we say one, make a cheering sound? We didn't think this through,
No,
Ben.
pig noises.
Make a
Yeah. Squeal like pigs.
squeal.
Squeal like you're on the set of Deliverance if you like one word more than the other word.
It's the only way we're going to know. So, OCD. There was no squeals, so it's not
No
counting.
pigs, doesn't count.
Birth.
That sounds completely fucking even. All right, one more time for OCD. Or birth. It's birth.
It's birth.
I'm completely blown away.
I'm very surprised.
I really thought you'd want to hear all about our mental illnesses and our fucking
You know
checking
what?
the oven 15 times before you leave the house.
Chances are they also all have the same mental illnesses, and like, we're here to fucking escape.
Yeah, right.
And, you know,
yeah, but they're
Well,
also
think
all
about the
born.
oven.
They're also all born, so you know.
That's true.
Yeah.
And some
My
people are
bad.
born with OCD, so you can sort of see where this could go. We could
could do
strain
both
out.
really
You could
fucking
basically
easily.
do both. Who's going to fucking tell you off? What are you going to get grounded?
Full circle.
Well, you're the only one that's actually procreated here, right?
Yes.
Like spread your fucking genes around.
Could you
What?
have made that sound
I have.
fucking
Yeah, you really-
disgusting?
That's what it is. That's the
You
science.
could just
my
say
genes.
you're the only dad. You didn't have to go. You're the only one who's
Cammy K is the
procreated
only dad in the room, so
and
fucking how does it
spread.
feel?
Well, no, but you've actually set it up as if you made it sound like a disease. You've spread your genes
Thank
around,
you.
like
Well,
I've just spurted
well-
chlamydia about the place. That's
Some-
how you just
would-
have a bit of that, world. Have a bit of that, just spreading my genes around. Take that, Earth.
Some would say that humanity is something of a disease.
We are a disease, yes. Yeah,
true.
we've really hit the ground running this
Some would
evening,
say
haven't
that.
we?
It normally takes like at least
We are.
5 minutes to reach that point, so it's just for your birthday that
Thank
we're
you.
kicking it off with that.
From the Earth's perspective, we're a fucking disease.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I'm sure
There's
it
too
doesn't
much- too many of
appreciate
us.
you smearing your fucking genes all
Probably
over
not.
the place.
Caution,
Probably
do you
doesn't.
feel like you're
Yeah.
a disease?
I'm a great guy.
Thank you.
How dare you? No, but I did feel like just listening to you guys because I like the podcast.
Oh,
I'm a fan.
Thanks.
I could be one of these guys right now. But whenever you pull out a word, I'm like, I'd have nothing for that. So just watching you guys talk, I felt like I was just listening to the podcast.
But it's like that with every episode.
That's
Like
good.
the word comes out and there's this like moment of fucking utter panic. The only difference is we can edit out the long pause.
Oh, fantastic.
When we're pre-recording,
That's
but in front
great.
of an audience, you got to go, baby.
Oh,
birth,
shit.
Birth. Ben
Birth,
Kochan.
caution, birth.
Have you
Oh,
ever
boy.
given birth, Kochan? Have you ever had a baby inside
I
you?
feel like I give birth to a lot of comedy every night. I consider all my jokes my babies. I love them.
Back to what I was saying, as the only
Yeah.
person that's a dad in the room, Cameron, did you watch your kids getting born?
Yes, I was present for both of them. I think every man needs to be present for the birth of their children.
Why?
Because that is the closest thing to God you'll ever understand. Like, that is, you see it's a very humbling experience for anyone to witness, but also for a man to witness, because you see your friend, your best friend, your partner, lover transform and go to a place that, like, there's no fucking way I would do that. You know, like not for $1 million. You know what I mean? Not even if it was an option on Fear Factor. You know, they're just like, for $1 million, give birth to a child or eat a truckload of cockroaches. I'll be like, back those fuckers in. You know, like that's, you know, and so and I think men need to understand that, because that really put me in my place when I saw that take place. Like I did. I just went, you know, I'm a redundant piece of shit, essentially. Like I will never in my life ever match that or even beat that. Like,
well, what do you mean, like the physical endurance?
What I'm saying, I honestly, truly believe that females are the superior sex of the species. That's what I'm saying. Like, and I fully, no worries, you're welcome. And if guys have the world, we fucked it.
As a token,
men have done such a great job.
If men had to endure periods or birth or sitting to piss, there'd be so many cures for all of these things. Like we would have figured it out hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally.
We talked about this the other day.
I do it at night time because I'm scared I'm going to piss on the side.
I do it during the daytime.
Oh, really?
It's great. I'm lazy.
No, I was just going to say we talked about this the other day because I yelled at you because you were telling me that periods aren't that bad.
How dare you? I didn't say that. This is a fucking. She's always making up fucking stories to manufacture conflict. It's fucking bullshit. I never said that.
Yes, you did.
I didn't fucking say. How dare you?
Our friend, who won't care if I say her name, Vic, went, tell us more about periods, Ben, and then you shut up because you got uncomfortable.
I didn't fucking say that.
Anyway,
Such a
superior gender,
asshole.
clearly. You fucking did.
Yeah, all right, sick.
Is this why you guys are on opposite ends of the table?
Yeah.
There's a
we need a wall of two humans between us.
It's a nice, fun podcast.
It is.
Just enjoy ourselves.
I think we've given birth to an argument.
Well, I apologise for being so unwoke and so disgustingly male. If I did say that, I'm sorry, but I didn't say that.
You did. Right. Vic will prove it. Anywho.
So, it was like you're saying it was like a religious experience?
It was really, and I think also it is sort of it is like a religious experience in the sense that you get high off her pheromones and her hormones because, and seriously, it's animalistic, it's primal what's going on in there. And she was on gas. She didn't take any other medications. She's just on nitrous. So her voice is like, oh, come on, hold my hand. You know, so I'm like Cabal is with us. You know, like I'm giving birth to Satan's child while this is happening.
Scary.
And like, so she'd be like, water now. You know, and things like that. So you're like, fucking hell. But you're right in there. And you're breathing all of this in, and her pheromones are coming off, and like even the nurse is high. So we were all sort of a bit high together, off this whole breathing and fucking intensity. And it's like being on mushrooms. Like I swear to God, like it was that sort of weird, like particularly within the transitional state. So when when Belle first got her contractions, because we'd done all the lessons, they said, look, you just time them out, and once it gets to a certain point, then you've got to bring her into the hospital. But most of the time, just do all the pre-birth stuff at home, you'll be fine. So when it first kicked in, I was like, fuck, we got ages, and we hadn't bought a birthing chair yet. So we drove to this furniture shop to Matt Platt, and we're trying out chairs, and Belle's walking along, and every time she get a contraction, she's like, "Ah!" and sits down in a chair, which would then make the fucking store attendant come over and go, "Oh, do you like that chair?" She's like, "Get away from me," And so I'm like, so after about the fifth time that happened, I went, "We're buying that one," and we fucked off. But we drove home. On the way home, we had to stop like 5 times, had to pull over, and she had to get out of the car and breathe it out. And I'm like, this is a really bad decision. And then we get home, and we still know we've got hours.
Wait, what's a really bad decision?
Just to go shopping while we're doing this.
I meant like creating
not
a child.
I wasn't like, man, we shouldn't have had children. This is really eating up into our furniture shopping, darling. Like, we've got to get to IKEA after this.
Supermarket.
Then we get home, and again, I'm like, I had this all planned, thinking it was going to be totally fine. They're like, you might want to listen to music, dim the lights, or watch a movie. So I'm like, nah, we'll watch a movie. And so we start watching fucking. I put on The Wolverine, and again, which is this really chaotic opening sequence, just machine guns. Like that, and then every time a contraction hit, I'd pause the movie, and then
you don't want to miss out what's happening.
I didn't want to miss out. I didn't want to miss the narrative, and so then I'd swoop in like a boxing coach, like you come in and she's going through the contraction, and I'm talking to her through the breathing, and then I'm timing it, and then when the contraction ends, I get a little wet flannel on her neck, and then I give her some water, and I'm like, you did good out there, son. Like get in a good round. You've got this, that sort of thing, and then I'm like, everything cool, great. Play. And then we did that for about, the movie, she got sick of that. And then...
Yeah, I imagine.
And then it just intensified. And we did it a lot at home. So we stayed at home for about 6 hours in the lounge room. And while she was going through all of that, and then they get closer and closer together. And then we called the hospital... and they said, you're fine, stay at home. And then we got her in the shower... And she said, I think I want to go to hospital now totally. And I'm like, I don't want to tell you this, but you're not ready. Like, I've been sitting here timing the contractions, and she's like, take me to fucking hospital. Yeah. And so I call up, and they're like, you can only call in a certain amount of times. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, fuckhead. Like, no one said you only get a limited amount of calls.
It's
before
like trying a password.
Yeah, it's like, what, you don't believe we're still pregnant, cunt. Like, she's still giving birth. It's like, I'm not going to plug it up. And I'm like, and so then this thing in me shifted where I just went, hey, listen, I'm bringing my wife in now. I've timed it. We'll be there in 3 minutes, and just hung up on them and took them in. And then they just sort of...
Dad mode.
Yeah, I dadded up.
Yeah.
I felt very macho.
Dad right off.
I had a lot to make up for. I had to.
Yeah.
I fucked it all up, the first half. And so with the Wolverine in the chair, I'm like, I'm going to man up. So then we went in and... so the first time we were in like a normal suite, and the second one we were in an actual birthing suite, which you get a bigger bed and whatever. Like it's, you don't spend much time on the bed. You're on the floor.
Fucking intense, man.
Oh my God.
You are. They have these mats. They get these waterproof acrobat mats, and I brought in, so again, at our classes, they said, set up the hospital room like it's a hotel. Do lines of cocaine. Bring the hookers in. No. They said, set up the room so that it, makes you feel comfortable. So as soon as I walk in, I switch off the lights. I plug in all these fairy lights around the joint. And so the place is lit up, looks sick. Yeah, man. And we've got all this really cool stuff. I bought in all these like nice snacks and all this sort of shit because I've been told if you get really cool snacks, heaps of nurses keep coming in. And they do. They heaps. If they know you've got snacks, they'll be like, I'm going back to check on the nights. And they did. You're like, where's the fucking snakes alive? I'm like, here, look at her vagina, please. It is okay. Like that was where we're at. And so they had like a shower and a spa. And you can pull the acrobat mats into the shower space, and she was just on all fours for a lot of it, and I was just kind of like just hosing her off, like from above, just like that, just like that for ages. Just like a Mazda 3. I was just like hosing down the lawn, waiting for a baby to grow. Really, yeah.
It's horrifying.
But you get into this real trance-like state when you transition, when the baby sort of drops. And starts, basically coming out.
No, but you do, because like...
You're in a trance. No, I'm
saying
them.
You do because I think you're a kind of, you're open to spiritual experiences and stuff. But like, do you think that, that like awful, like, oh, fucking, I wouldn't want to watch my fucking wife. It's like watching your favourite pub burn down.
That's bullshit. The pub's still there. Like, it's not smouldering ashes and rubble. But like, yeah, all right, operating hours are a lot less frequent, but fucking hell, like... I like to think of it more that we got inspired by the block and we just did some renovations and it's a great
You're
pub.
You're a really nice guy right up until
pub.
that fucking joke and then
it's
the whole thing.
It's a kid-friendly pub. It's a good pub.
But do you think like that? That kind of way of thinking that you see in a lot of kind of dudes of a certain age. Like fucking, it's disgusting. Do you think what is it? Like, are they afraid?
Oh, I don't know. They're just fuckheads. Who cares?
Maybe they're
idiots.
only just saying it in front of their mates. Because like so many times people meet someone where they look one way in front of their friends, and then you hear about them with their partner or whatever, and they're like totally different person. Maybe they act like that when it's like a cockfest environment where they're like, I'm fucking tough, but then with their woman they're like, oh, I love you, honey bunny. Like maybe it's different.
Do you want to give birth?
Oh Jesus, do you? I don't fucking know.
Well, I can't. The closest I'll ever come to birth is a really big shit. It's like.
You know what I thought when he
and
was
they
saying
feel
it was,
good. Like those, I've gotten hard doing that.
Freud had a theory.
Has anyone else done
I think
that?
it's
The other
Freud.
guys?
I think it's Freud. I think it's Freud. But like, you know how like when you shit, you.
No, Ben, I don't. Tell me, how do you shit?
You know, you turn around to look at
Absolutely
what
never
came
done
out
that.
of you. You never done it.
Genuinely,
I can
no.
imagine you being a really
it's
shameful
disgusting.
shitter.
Do you turn around? Are you a rounds turner?
What? It's filthy. Do you? Are you riddled with fecal shame?
I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit.
I think it's healthier.
Ben Kochan, riddled with fecal shame.
Shame about something that
Guys,
everyone
that
does
is my
every day
Fringe
of
show
their
this
life.
year, riddled with fecal shame at the Factory Theatre this year. Come see it. No. Anyway.
I think
win
it's
a Barry.
way healthier to have shame about shitting than to be like, guess what, everyone?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
it fucking
psychologically
is.
demented to have shame surrounding shit.
You think people should be proud of their shit?
I'm not saying you should be proud of it, but there's a fucking spectrum between proud and shame.
Yeah.
You can just be like, yeah, I did a really fucking good shit, and but
No.
they say, like it comes from childhood.
Shame.
Like you turn around and you're like, I did that. I made that.
Yeah, but you're not bringing in your friends to have a
I'm not fucking
walk.
suggesting you
My
bring a
kids
friend,
wave their
although
poos
I have
goodbye.
been brought in to see a shit one time by a friend. He was like, this is disgusting,
That's fucked
but
up.
you will not believe this. And it was like unbelievable. It was a fucking baby.
He might have...
Little fucking shit baby.
Caution might feel shit shame, but you're not going to know any difference between his shit shame and your shit confidence because they're both hopefully
It's all a
in
spectrum.
private.
No.
Spectrum.
I think that shit shame is reflective of
Here we
just
go.
general comfort in yourself. I feel like if you're
Now
ashamed,
we're getting
I think
into
if you're
it. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we
I think
go.
if you're
What is
ashamed,
it? What is it about going to the toilet that you don't like?
I love it. I love
it.
I don't want anyone to hear what's happening or
I think
see
that's
what's happening.
fine. I agree with that.
Does your asshole clench shut if you're in a public toilet alone and then someone walks in?
Yeah, I did it tonight.
Really? Like you stop shitting?
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Because I kind of do that too.
I
know. I'm fucking
Mr.
hypocrite.
Shit over here. Confidence has just been shattered.
That is not
Shit
true.
it.
Have you got public fecal shame, Ben? Doing it in
I don't
public.
want a stranger
You
judging
just want to
the
be at
pitch of
home
my
alone
farts.
with your poo.
You will always be the one. If we need to go to the loo at the same time, Ben is very confident and very okay with going, you should go first. You don't want to know what's going to happen in there.
Yeah,
And
because
I
I'm
go,
ashamed. I don't want you to walk into the fetid stench of my toxic shit.
But you're acknowledging it in a public way instead of just tightening up like caution.
No, but if you were in the bathroom, if
Thank
you
you
were
for
in
defending me,
if
by the
you like my bathroom at home. How do we get to this?
You said give birth
It
to a
was always
shit.
going to come back to shit.
Here we are, champ.
And
You
natural
guided it
progression.
here.
We'll get back to fucking kids in a minute. But like I said, this is the closest a man will ever come. No, my bathroom at home connects directly to the kitchen. And whenever my roommates are like cooking and I need to shit, I take my
Oh, that's
Bluetooth
rough.
speaker into the, and play like heavy hip hop or something.
Do you keep the door shut for a while? Because those little minute poo particles could float out into the kitchen. and into the
I'm aware of that. I have like a cusp over my toothbrush, but they just leave their toothbrushes out. So they're
Yeah.
just like brushing their teeth with shit every day.
Poo particles do come out. You got to flush the toilet. You got to put the lid down before you flush
I'm worried
it.
about those poo particles.
They do come out. I read a thing about it. It's fucked up.
Isn't that fucked when you walk
Apparently
into a public
that's all
toilet, you
over our-
literally got a stranger's shit in your mouth?
Well, it's
That's
all over
what-
our phones.
Huh?
Well, because think about
Oh,
how much
yeah,
time
yeah.
you're on the phone when you're on the toilet. I get so much work done there. That's when I do the majority of my emails. And that is when your
Caution.
phone is apparently covered in shit.
I imagine you can't be on your phone when you're on the toilet.
Oh, no, I love it.
Do you?
You guys don't know me well at
distracts
all.
from the shame.
Is there anything he
Hello.
doesn't love?
I have very strong opinions. No, but I'm worried about breathing in those poo particles because I was at the gym today and, the people who shit at gyms, they're not right, those shits. Like, they're bad shits.
It's like protein powder
Oh,
shit.
it's disgusting. So it's like, it's horrible, and, I don't want to smell it, so I breathe through my mouth, but then I'm worried.
Then you're eating
I
it.
know.
You're actually eating it.
That's but I don't want to smell it, but so what do you do?
You got to smell
your
it.
breath?
You just
I'd rather
gotta take
smell it than eat it.
And you're lucky though, because you'll be sniffing up, and then most of it gets stuck in your moustache there.
I do have a lot of shit in my moustache.
Later.
You got a double filter going on there at the top of your nose.
All right, from now on, I'll just smell it. Thank you for that, guys.
Yeah.
So you didn't answer my question from before.
About what?
Do you want to give birth?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You
Not
don't-
fucking right now. I'm horrified by that.
No,
I mean, it
I
sounded
haven't-
beautiful
it's
and romantic,
amazing.
and it also is horrifying.
Oh, it's
like
arduous.
the chair and Wolverine and
No, you don't have to have the same experience as me. Like, you don't have to be all like, I'm pregnant. Oh, I've had my contractions. Quick, we need to watch Wolverine. Like, that's not in the fucking manual. That wasn't in the book that they gave out. What to expect when
can
you're
be any
expecting.
Hugh Jackman
Watch
movie.
Wolverine. Like, it wasn't there.
I wish the labour went longer. We could have watched the entire trilogy.
sounded horrifying.
No,
So
it's
there's no like, pressing biological need to procreate?
To give birth?
No, I mean, it's
children.
part
Like,
of
I'm
it,
not
right?
like, fuck, I wish I was in labour. Like, no. But I don't know. That's the honest response. I don't know. Sometimes yes, sometimes
Were
no.
you guys natural or caesarean?
We
Starting
were
with Ben Kochan.
Caesarean.
Caesarean?
Well, I was natural. My two children were natural. And my second son...
Yeah, I just asked about you, mate.
Bragging.
Sorry, keep going about your kids.
Such a good host. All right, mate,
second
wrap
son-
it up.
My second son was just a shit. So, no, he
Shit, Pinocchio.
it's really good. He was born in caul. He was born a caul bearer. So he came out. We were in the bath for the second one.
What? What does that mean?
Came out in the sack.
Oh,
still entirely, which is
Amazing.
which is meant to be very lucky. In some countries, they're seen as if that it's they say that they'll never drown at sea, and in other places they believe them to be werewolves or vampires. So I'm waiting to see which
Man, you're
one's
kid.
which. But I kept the sack because they used to back
Wait,
in
would
the
you
day.
rather your son be a werewolf or like a longshore seaman?
Vampire, total vampire.
totally,
I'd rather
yeah.
be a vampire.
Can I ask
yeah.
a logistical... So they're in the bag.
Yeah.
Do you physically pop the bag?
Nurse popped
Nurse
it.
popped
Yeah,
the
we
bag?
saw. So Belle was
Like
in
a
front of
balloon?
me. Yeah,
that's where all the amniotic
Just
fluid
gave it a squeeze, and so
don't act
Belle
like
was in
you're
front of me,
down
and he
with
sort of popped
pregnancy.
up.
That's where the automatic...
Oh no, am I right? Is there amniotic fluid in that fucking
Yes,
sack?
there's
There you
amniotic
go,
fluid.
So I do fucking know.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
Jesus.
yes, there is.
Snippy bitch
Everybody,
tonight.
which is essentially
Yeah,
baby
that's
shit.
about
Okay.
It's so great to be a part of this.
Yeah, he came out. I saw his head. He was in
good.
the thing in the sack, and then the nurse just lost her mind, just like, oh my god,
Was he-
he's
was
a
he-
call
was he
bearer.
like-
It's a
like,
call
was he-
bearer. No,
was he
he's
just
just like.
like, eh?
He looked like he was in, like a
Like the
in a
2001
museum
baby.
with his head in a
They have a
fucking jar.
nickname.
Essentially, they're just like,
Wow.
you
I've
know,
never
like
heard
still.
that. Call bearer.
Yeah, call bearer. And so
Is
apparently
that the
people.
reverse of a pallbearer?
Yep. And so they. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's exactly
Yep.
it.
All learning.
They popped it, and then they said, "Do you want to keep it because it's good luck?" Because back in the day, people, if they had a
What?
call bearer, they would dry the
baby
sack.
or the
They
sack?
dry the sack out, and if they were seafaring men or women, they would keep the sack on them. And so I dried it out, and I was going to try and sell it on Gumtree to
What, is it a lucky
someone in the
charm?
Navy. Yeah, just like, do you want a talisman? You know, that sort of thing.
Is that the thing that people put in powder form and eat?
No, that's placenta.
No, that's the
That is not the bag.
No,
the
that's
placenta's-
You do know a
placenta.
lot.
I do know a
The
lot.
dried
Fine.
placenta, you can take that as
Isn't
well.
the placenta the bag?
No,
No, the placenta's the fucking all the,
the
blood
food.
and food, and it's rich in
the lifeline.
iron.
People
and-
eat that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
We've got
dogs,
ours in the
first thing a
freezer.
dog does.
Do you?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we're going to eat it. I think we're going to
Are
like.
you going to eat it?
Yep.
Are you going to eat it?
Yeah, man. It's going to be delicious. No,
People do eat
I
it.
had a-
I think
I
we're
had
going to
a-
plant
I
a
had-
tree or something.
Yeah, no, I
when
had
we
a-
get
I had
a
a friend
property,
that
we're going to
wanted
plant
to-
a tree and.
I had a friend that wanted to take his wife's placenta from the hospital because he's into, witchy poo stuff.
Placenta stuff.
Where he was going to eat half of it and bury half of it under a tree.
Yeah.
They told him he was sick and they just chucked it in the bin.
Oh.
No, now...
Well, you can get the placentas turned into dry capsules.
Tablets.
They dry it all out and put it into capsules, and it's recommended that women take it after birth because it gives back a lot of iron. It's really high in iron
like
and
superfood.
So
and
it's
it also
iron
can,
tablets.
and because it's full of hormones as well, so it can stave off postnatal depression as well.
If it's good enough for the other
we go.
animals, why shouldn't we be
There you
chowing
go.
down on
Get
it?
it into you. Placenta.
Delicious.
All round.
I could see a time where that does become some new...
It's already a thing now.
No, but like mainstream. I'm talking like fresh, not in pill form.
No,
Like
that
kale
was-
and placenta
Oh,
fucking
kale and
smoothies.
placenta smoothie. Fucking hell. I bet you it happens. Yeah.
Caesarean or
If we wait long
vaginal?
enough. Caesarean.
Yeah, I was
Emergency.
Oh, how come? What
Same.
was wrong with
Had
you?
Maybe
thing
that's
around
why
my
we're
neck
all
and I
fucking-
You were
was
hanging
upside
yourself.
down.
You'd hanged yourself inside.
And whooping cough.
I didn't know this
you were
about
born
you.
with whooping cough.
Yeah, almost died a few times.
How do you
Mate-
get whooping cough in the womb?
No, in the hospital, like as an
Wait
infant.
a second.
in
Wait
the
a second. You were
hospital.
caesarean too, Ben?
I was a caesarean.
Did you have any kind of cords around your throat?
I can't remember, to be honest. It was a long time ago.
Ben's trying to find a connection. Cesarean babies that were born.
Tried to put it out of my mind.
Yeah,
Just get on
it was
with my
quite
life.
traumatic.
running with this. Oh, so
I don't remember. I know it's cesarean, but I don't know much.
I'm not asking if you remember. Like, did
Yeah,
you?
I know, but I don't.
Mum didn't talk to you about
She
it.
doesn't tell me anything about that.
See? Shame
your
of
family-
birth, shame of your own birth.
Shame,
Shame, of, your
shame
own
of every bodily
shit.
fluid in the Kochan
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
So you don't know anything about your birth?
No.
Do you know anything about yours?
Yeah, I didn't know this. I've known
only
you
know
for a
that
long
mine
time.
was
I had no idea. We had
problematic.
the same thing.
Yeah.
I came. I was like, my mum was in labour for like 47 hours or something obscene.
Wow.
And then I got stuck in her pelvis, and the cord went around my throat.
Wow.
And I was about to die, and then they, cut her open after all that and pulled me out. And apparently, I'd been stuck in her pelvis for so long.
Oh, Conehead.
Your head
I had
was
a
triangular.
full-on fucking cone head.
Yeah.
And to
They
this
have to-
day, I have a triangular spike on the top of my head. Hence, why I
Oh,
hide under baseball
that's what he's saying.
yeah.
He's an alien. He's one of them.
That's why they're Jew horns, man.
Yeah, it's my Jew unicorn horn. But they say, running with the theme of me knowing a lot about birth, they say...
You do know a lot about it.
Evidently, I know more than you.
Yeah.
They say that... I don't know if this is true or if this has any kind of scientific backing, but they say that caesarean babies grow to be more anxious
Yeah.
and more fucked up.
Yeah.
One, because of the trauma of the birth, but also apparently through a vaginal birth, the baby is like kind of coated in this stuff called vaginal flora, which is full of like whatever,
Goodness.
Yeah, goodness. The
Moisturiser.
corpse or something.
Yeah.
And you come out...
It's
and
called bonding jizz.
The technical term.
Okay? Everybody?
And if you're ripped out as a caesarean, you're probably like, thrown in some kind of incubator and
Not
you're
only
pressed
that-
against the skin.
Yeah, but
all
not
kind of
only
stuff.
that, also when you have a caesarean, the lady is given all manner of painkillers. Now that invariably goes into the baby, which disassociates them. It can also make them like they're high essentially. So they get a lot of caesarean births because there's this natural thing. If a child is delivered naturally, and then you place the child on the mother's stomach, it's the first ever time they start moving and they know to go up.
Don't they know to
towards
go
the
to a
breast,
boob?
yeah, to feed.
eat.
But when and that is the first time they bond with their mother. It's the first time they receive food and hormones and all of this goodness and estrogen and all that sort of stuff from their mother, and that connects them. I don't know if it's spiritually, but it certainly does chemically. And when the child is born through caesarean, or if somebody has, like a spinal tap while they're giving birth, that child is drugged, and their ability to be able to do that is taken away. Yeah.
Oh, great, so we're
Jesus.
just fucking doomed.
Full on. Yeah.
fucked.
So you've
No,
never
no,
bonded
no.
with your mum.
Great.
Essentially, and you need to work that out, Ben.
Bond is a little too strong, some would say. Yeah, that's kind of really fucking depressing.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what are you going to do? That's science.
Yeah, you can't argue with science. It's very true.
Do you want to be a dad, Kochan?
Sometimes.
So aggressive.
Why?
Do you want to be a dad, Kochan?
I coach
Well,
a
I
lot
know
of,
Benny does not want to be a dad.
You don't? But you're around kids a lot.
Yeah, he gets picked as daddy number
Yeah,
two.
a lot
quite
of broken single mothers like me.
Yeah. Mummy magnet Benny Elwood.
He didn't bond with his own, so he gets these other ones.
No, I don't want biological children, but that's for ethical reasons, not for.
Did you want to be a dad outside of that?
Yeah, I have a lot of paternal feelings, and I like how my head is when I'm around kids because the chattering stops, and you know your bullshit is irrelevant. Whatever, they're more important.
Totally.
You're irrelevant.
Well, yeah, it's just like you are serving a very primal, necessary function, and so a lot of the other crap is just not there. So I think it would be very good for me psychologically. I would probably raise a very cynical child, but I have massive ethical problems. I'm not an anti-natalist. Have you heard of this? Anti-natalism?
No.
Oh, it's like an emo grew up and got a fucking 5 PhDs. It's this fucking South African philosopher who believes in antinatalism, that like birth, should be banned and we should just let the species die off naturally because life is such a fucking horror show, man. It's not even worth being alive. And he's written this thesis on it and shit.
So
It's
how
like,
come
yeah,
if he
alright.
believes in that, why doesn't he just kill himself?
Well, no.
Like-
Yeah.
Why
No,
write
because
thesis?
he does get it.
Don't waste time.
He gets into that because it's this whole
He
thing. like-
gets into it.
Well, he does.
The chapter out why I'm not going to kill
Well, no,
myself.
I think this whole thing is that, now that you're alive, you're fucking genetically geared towards wanting more life. And so, it would have to take some kind of catastrophic depression or something like that to go through with actually killing yourself. I don't agree with his theory at all. I think he's a fucking whining shithead and he needs to, fuck
Sounds like
off.
a sad gal guy.
Yeah, totally. But I do think at the current, and I'm sorry, I'm not judging you for having
I think
children.
I'm probably going to agree with you if you're saying that
I feel like at the current juncture we're at,
overpopulated
there's
and-
no food, no water, the air's
Yeah,
fucked,
I get
the
it.
waters are rising, there's 7 billion people, and maybe we should just not keep giving birth for a little while.
I know.
At least until, the several tens of millions of children who have nothing have something, and then, we can get back to making more children. But
Yeah.
for
But
now,
then in
I
the
feel like the brakes need to be fucking put on it.
But for the sake of playing devil's advocate,
Hmm.
in countries where the birth rates dropped dramatically, they're in trouble. Like places like Japan are in trouble soon.
Yeah, but
because
that's different
the-
problems.
No, but that's what happens. If you put the brakes on everyone having children for a long time and the birth rate drops dramatically, there's not people not replacing people, and there's an elderly group that you can't just shoot off because they're old and no one can look after
What
them.
are the adoption laws like in Japan? Could
Oh,
they-
Japan is not
Yeah, but that's
interested
what I'm
in
saying.
letting other
You
people.
know, I'm not advocating.
Like
oh,
Japan's like, no, we'll be fine. Like they said they'd prefer robots to look after elderly people than encourage immigration. So that's a problem.
Amazing.
But if you
amazing.
did that on a world scale where you were like one child policy across the world, so many things would collapse overnight.
No, I'm not
because
saying
it's just-
that. I'm saying let's sort out the kids that don't have anything, that are in
So, like,
fucking
recruit them around
child
the world.
trafficking. It's a completely impossible fucking utopian dream. It could never happen. It's
Yeah.
logistically impossible. But I'm saying in a perfect world, how about everyone stop shitting out fucking kids because they have some god complex?
I
It's like,
reckon-
I need a little me. I couldn't possibly love something that wasn't genetically mine.
I think
well, then you're a
what they-
fucking psychopath.
Well, we
That's
actually
fucked up.
we thought about adoption, because we had to go through IVF to get both of them, and so we had spoken about that. Like, if it hadn't worked out, what we were going to do and who we were going to get. And
Was
that sort
there
of
was
thing.
there a reason that you went down one path and not the other?
Money? Like, we could afford IVF. And
Really?
Yeah. So we wanted to see if we could have a go, just to see if we could.
Oh, I
make
thought you
our
were
own.
saying adoption was more expensive than IVF.
No. Like, we just had some sweet dollars to burn. And bought a lifetime of fucking despair. And worry.
Yeah, well, and since, going back to what we were saying before, you are the only parent on the stage.
Yeah.
I turn on, if I read 5 minutes of news, I have, a full-blown fucking panic attack of, I was
Just
with
love
Jen a couple of weeks ago. I was just in this flat-out depression because I was reading about the environment, and it's like you read about the environment for 10 minutes, and it's not good, and I can't imagine how I would function if I had kids.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, there was. I always worry about that. Like, there was an article that was saying that there's a weather station down in Tasmania called Cape Grim, which is not a great name, by the way. And it just tells you how much carbon's in the atmosphere and stuff. In the last reading, it said that it's over 400 ppms of carbon, which is 400.
That's too many ppms.
That's a lot of ppms. Like,
I reckon.
What's a ppm?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
reckon
I
it
didn't know
sounds
what
too
that
much.
was either. Like, do you know what it is? Yeah. Does anyone know what it is?
Sounds like a lot of ppms.
No, fucking
Sounds
nerds.
like a lot.
All right, like, it's parts per million, which again, I don't know
thought
what
so.
that is. It's just very tiny. But apparently, according to this article, once it goes over 400 ppms of carbon, the atmosphere will never right itself completely. And that's contributing to global warming.
Yeah, hothouse
and,
effect.
And the greenhouse effect. And so I was really concerned about that, just thinking, what have we done? And now what have I brought my children into? And so my only thing is that I just sort of go, well, maybe they'll do something about it. Because I can't.
Not my fucking problem anymore.
I can't. Well, I didn't do well enough in science. I don't know enough.
also it's
I
like-
wish I did pay attention in school now.
But the strongest human urge we have is usually to have a baby
And to shit.
and to shit.
Yeah.
Shamefully, mind you. But
Can't avoid it.
But that's the strongest urge people have, and so I understand why people are still having children. But stuff like the environment is fucked. Totally. Like, that's undeniable.
Yeah.
But there's always something that humans have been petrified of that's hanging over them
but
that's
usually-
going to kill them all tomorrow. Like in the 70s, it was like acid rain. And I even remember hearing about acid rain and being like, fuck, when it rains acid,
We're getting
my
high.
face will melt. Yeah, well, like, but do you remember, and I remember when I was in school, the big thing, you might be too young, Kochan, but the big thing was like the ozone layer. We learnt about it, but we learnt about it every fucking year in primary school. Like, it was like, ozone layer's going to kill you. And we had to wear like the Legionnaire hat, that covered your neck. And it was like, yeah,
yeah. Hated
because
those
we're going to
hats.
all die of the ozone layer that's just over Australia. We're going to melt our faces off.
and that was because of our fridges and the CFCs, and also
And-
Brute. Everyone was using Brute aftershave.
Yeah, but do you remember that as well?
All
I
that
remember
Brute,
that.
it's ruining the
It's
ozone.
spraying
Yeah.
and like I'm not saying the environment isn't fucked, but I'm just saying there is always something there that humans from the beginning of time have been petrified is going to fucking drop out of the sky and kill them. Whether it was like locusts or fires
yeah.
or Russians,
Yeah.
that's a biggie. But there's always been something, and it hasn't stopped
Yeah.
people having children and hoping for them to move on to something better.
Do you think that, Ben, do you worry about this shit? Like, do you get all nihilistic sometimes?
I honestly do not read any of this shit.
but that's the wiser move, I think.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't. Oh, this sounds bad, but it doesn't interest me.
No.
I don't read the news. I don't read any of this stuff. I have very few interests. That's why I haven't been talking much. I don't know much. I'm very dumb. I mean, I'm not dumb, but I just don't think a lot.
What
I mean,
are
I
your
think a lot,
interests?
but I don't think about this stuff.
You don't
What-
think
what
about
are the
big
things-
picture stuff. You're just like, I'm just here, it's good, everything's... I'm here.
Probably not even that.
La la la.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just like, I got to go to the gym today, then I got to coach for an hour, then do
Are
a
you
bit of
just the
stand
most
up.
zen man in the world?
Not really.
He's not zen. He's
I'm more
fucking
like
Jew.
a day-to-day person. I
Yeah,
mean,
but he's
So
not.
each
where
day
you
you're
are.
just like, ping, and it's... La 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 la.
yeah. A little
And it's
bit.
fine. You've got your own
I've started
soundtrack.
meditating in the last 2 weeks.
How's that going?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
You ever done it?
Yeah,
Wait, what
I
did you
just
say
go
you
to
started?
sleep usually. But, like, do you listen to a tape or you to focus on your third eye, or what do you do?
I don't. Do you meditate?
Not
You
as
should
much as I
meditate.
should. I try and meditate for 20 minutes a day, but it doesn't. And it's one of those things. It's always great when I do it.
I've been doing 10 minutes a day. It feels great.
Yeah. Are we
So
still
you
talking
are
about
zen.
meditating?
10 minutes.
So I had an epic wank today.
No, but in the sense where you were saying you can not rise above, but you aren't phased by this stuff because you don't engage with it.
Correct.
And you're meditating and you're going through life probably in a much, I'm just going to chuck it out there, healthier state of mind.
Possibly.
Some would say that's like a thing of zen. Like he's going through life in a
First
peaceful...
Zen Jew. It can be done.
There's a show. That's a show title. Yes.
Going to start a cult.
What, me worry?
I don't care about my schmeckle.
Oy vey.
Kochan, what are the things that you are interested in that you do? I'm going to assume, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like obsessively look into. Because if you're only looking into a few things, you must Master them, otherwise.
Very few.
Yeah.
Very few. I had an NRL fantasy team this year.
Nice.
I'm
Who's
so
in
not
it?
the right guy for this podcast. You're talking about like birth. I'm like, oh, I had an NRL fantasy team that did well this year. Came second.
Oh.
And I think about comedy a lot.
Yeah.
It's a bit lame, but
Hey, it's honest.
hey, what can you do? Just
Hey.
How old are you?
tell your truth up here.
How
That's
old
what
are
I
you?
say. 26.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um,
Have you travelled? Have you left the country? Have you seen things?
I have a little bit. I volunteered once. That was
What'd you do?
scary.
What'd you volunteer to do?
I went to Costa Rica. It was supposed to be like building stuff.
Yeah.
But I sort of just refurbished a church.
There you go.
I was
As a Jew.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was weird.
they
There was,
know?
there was an Israeli flag in the church.
Oh.
It's very confusing. And
Or
one of
just
the-
accepting. That's
Yeah.
acceptance,
Just
isn't
really.
it?
And
yeah.
one of the American volunteers was like, "Why the fuck is there an Israeli flag in the church? Are you a fucking Jew, Ben? You a fucking Jew?" And I was like, "I don't like where this is going." But,
I went to. I want to know more.
And he
I was
beat
just
the
gonna.
shit out of
I
me,
was going
but
to come
anyway.
back again.
And what did you
I'll let
say?
him finish.
I said I was, and he was like, "Yeah, cool, man, cool. Why is there an Israeli flag in here?" I was like, "I don't know."
And was it frosty after the fucking Jew thing?
It was a
Yeah.
little bit frosty.
Do you get fucking Jew a lot?
How many times have I got? A couple times.
You said
Couple
you
times.
went. You said you went to like Mariah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So that's the school with like fucking walls around it. And
Yeah.
shit. Doesn't that fuck you up?
Probably.
Would you? If you had
thought about
kids? If you had kids, would you send them to that school?
No.
How come? And does this questioning make you paranoid just in case they're listening? Because they have guns.
They are listening. The Mossad is outside. We had to from K to 12. No, it was actually K to 7. We had to learn Hebrew, do Jewish studies, and do Jewish history every single year.
And that's something you don't want to fail.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you
right?
speak
And I've
Hebrew?
forgotten all of it.
Oh, okay.
But I've forgotten everything from school, so that's not really.
Right.
And I can read Hebrew, but I can't, and I can speak it, but
That's
I don't
amazing.
understand it.
Hebrew's amazing.
Would
Hebrew's
you
amazing
raise your
language.
children Jewish if you had children?
Oh boy.
Wait. Are you?
I'd show them a lot of
Do you
Steven
Jew?
Spielberg films. What? Do I Jew?
Yeah. Do you properly Jew?
No. I
Family practice?
Do you even Jew, bro?
we don't practice. We've got it down. No, it's an Andy Kindler joke. But we go to shul synagogue once a year for Yom Kippur. That's the biggest.
Yeah.
The biggest Jewish day. You're supposed to fast and stuff, but we don't fast.
Oh, it's New Year on Sunday, isn't it?
Rosh Hashanah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a terrible
party.
Jew,
Do you
I've
celebrate
never-
that?
Yeah, we have family dinners on Friday nights,
Cool.
which is called Shabbat.
Yeah.
So we do that, but we don't really pray and we don't really care that much about.
Culturally.
We're culturally Jewish.
We used to do that when me and my mum used to do that when my grandparents were alive, and it was always it was lovely because there was never any fucking angry Yahweh shit about it. It was just you know. But we did like the finding of the matzah
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff.
What's
Yeah.
the finding of the matzah?
It's like a this sums up Jew so perfectly. It's like the Jewish equivalent of an Easter egg cunt, except
That's
instead
true,
of
it is.
finding chocolate eggs, you find dry, tasteless
flat cracker.
crisp bread.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got nothing in it. It's literally like eating
flour
a
and water.
piece of wall or something.
It's the food that
Drywall.
Moses ate for 40 years as he wandered the desert.
Uh,
Yeah, there you go, kids. Have
It's
some
'cause-
fucking matzah.
I know this one. It's because they didn't have time. They were leaving Egypt. We were getting run out of Egypt. Us too. And we put some bread in the oven, I guess, and it didn't have time to rise.
Ah.
So we took it out and we just left with some flat bread.
Before it could rise.
There we go. I did learn
Crispy.
something at school.
Hey!
You learn stuff. Well
We
done.
all learned
It was
something.
worth
Stories of
$20,000 a year, however much my parents paid.
Yeah, the whole mythology of the Old Testament is like fucking brutal.
But you
think-
wouldn't want to send your kids to that school,
I don't think so. I didn't love it.
right?
I grew up with a lot of very rich South African Jews who are not the
Right.
best people.
Okay. Because what are they? Are they entitled?
Entitled,
A bit
not
racist?
very nice, a bit racist.
Yeah.
Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, people from my school, when they turned 17, they'd get like an Audi
Fuck me.
straight away. So, like, all these kids are driving to school in Audis, BMWs, and
Yeah.
Mercedes. Like, if I was a teacher at my school, I'd be like, what the these fucking pieces of shit driving to school in, like, a shitty Toyota Camry. It's like, I'm going to fucking hit one of these kids today. This is fucking bullshit.
Also, what does that do to a 17-year-old? You're like, you don't even have a brain at 17.
Yeah.
You're not even a human.
Oh, they're not
And you're
great.
driving a fucking luxury car.
They're
around.
not
Like,
great
must
people.
give you some kind of messianic complex.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Full on.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right,
But,
what's happened? We've paused. Do we need to? Does anyone
We
need
can
to?
pause.
Let's-
We're pausing for a second.
Okay,
Let's chill.
that's chill.
You enjoying the kettle chip chocolate?
These are fucked
It's really
up.
fucking good, right?
Have you
Did
guys
you get
had this
them?
before? It's chocolate with kettle chips in them.
It comes
Ben
from the
loves it.
stoner division of Cadbury's. It's fucking
good.
awesome.
We
There's
should get
chips in it.
like sponsorship because
There's
it's
chips in the bottom,
Right.
and then you
How
get this bit
often?
of salt coming through with the
Yeah.
chocolate.
They
And it's
made
got
one with
it hasn't
sushi
gone
corn
soggy
chips as
either.
well.
It's still crunchy kettle chips in there. I've never had it before. I was listening to his your podcast, and then you were talking about ranting about it, Nay. And I'm like, I've got to try those. And thankfully, he brought them this evening, and this is I'm sold.
Here's a question for you.
it's all happening.
Here's a fucking question for you.
Okay.
When genetic engineering and genetic, like, what's that, CRISPR? We
What?
can write, that gene splicing tool that, I don't even know if they're inventing it or they discovered it or what. I listened to a radio lab one time. And it's like you can, like, rewrite genetic code, so you could, like, make a human with gills.
Oh yeah.
So you could, like, swim underwater and fucking chill out in Atlantis and all this stuff.
Yeah,
You could
Atlantis.
get like ostrich legs to run
Isn't
really
it-
fast. Well, but like
Isn't it more you can just pick their eye color?
no, like
Yeah, you can do that.
No, but like any technology taken to its, and no one would have expected fucking iPhones 15 years ago, and all of a sudden you've got, every bit of information that ever existed in your fucking pocket. So I
Aren't they
think-
looking to do that, though, to work out gene splicing and go through the DNA sequence to see if anybody is genetically predisposed to,
Yeah, that's
say,
how it'll-
cancer,
that's
so
how
then
it'll
they
start.
eradicate that.
That's how
They're not
it'll
going to go,
start.
let's just leave the cancer in and give him ostrich legs. Like,
He'll run it off.
That's how it'll start. And like any fucking technology, the fucking hackers and all the other people will start playing around with it, and you will have fucking gill men with ostrich legs. It'll be sick.
okay, it's going to be
and then when we
BoJack
fully-
Horseman in real life. Yeah.
If we don't destroy ourselves as a civilization, that's where I see it going. Like full postmodern sci-fi reality, like, hybridized robot people. There's these wheelchairs in Japan. They're not even wheelchairs. They're like robotic legs that a guy
Yeah.
just sits in. And he's just
awesome.
that
And they
old guy,
walk.
and it's
Oh, that'd be great.
yeah, like it's 20 years before some guy walks into a bank with a biomechanical arm and just rips the fucking say. And at that point, you've got super villains and then super villains.
Oh, yeah.
Will come. Seriously, I think all this stuff is if we don't destroy ourselves. But if like,
Isn't that how? That sounds like the way we will destroy ourselves,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Like
All
a-
bets will be off.
There won't be a robot uprising. Like, we'll just become part robot and then kill each other.
I think that's
Because
how
we'd be
we'll
like,
survive.
this arm's too strong. And we'd be like, hey, Ben, how are you? And he's gone. Like,
Every handshake is a disaster.
yeah.
I think
That's right.
This just sounds like the future of like the dream of a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah, totally.
We're all going to become part robot.
But we will.
And we're going to have robot cocks.
We're already.
And we're going to have chicks with 50 titties. Like, we're just going to be boring and die.
No,
Like, nothing that
We're
fucking
already part
exciting.
fucking robot. What's a fucking hearing aid? It's a biomechanical
Oh my
device that
God.
enhances your senses.
A hearing aid?
Glasses.
Yeah.
Glasses. Part robot.
Oh,
Look at
my
me.
bad. I'm so
I can
sorry.
see what I couldn't see
Glasses.
before. Oh.
I feel really bad. I'm so
No,
sorry.
you start introducing this technology,
have-
that's how it will be applied.
Glasses? That's a fucking stretch, Ben.
Yeah.
You're
Dude,
like, we
read
have
any
glasses.
fucking book about future tech. It starts with glasses and it ends with fucking gills. I'm
Yeah, but
telling you.
you'll be dead before any of that
I'll
shit
be dead,
happens.
of course. His
Yeah.
kids won't be. Your kids, the only
My
way your
kids are going to have
fucking
gills.
survive-
That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
My kids are
fine.
going to be fish people.
They're good at the sea.
Half
That's
sea
all right.
bass.
They're not going to drown.
My kid will never drown. He's a call
That's
bearer.
the way
Yeah.
out. Exactly right. Gene splicing, and we will go fucking underwater. That's how we survive as a fucking species.
Yeah.
There's no other way. We have to hybridize. We have to become bioorganic because if the atmosphere gets too hot, we won't be able to survive. If we can't breathe the air, we won't be able to survive. So we'll have to get to a stage where we are
underwater.
part
But the shit-
nanobot,
Underground.
part fucking
Yeah, I think like at some stage humans will probably
hybridize.
do some. All right, yeah, become fish people. But
We'll go underground.
until
We'll go
then,
underground.
Ugh.
there is some
live
amazing shit
underground.
that scientists are doing, which I think are more exciting and or maybe less exciting, but it's not as dramatic or interesting. Like they're talking about ways in which they can cool down the Earth by like shooting shit up in the sky, which is not as exciting as someone being like, "Hey, can I have a chocolate?" Brrr, and having their arm like fucking go.
What are they shooting up? Like,
but like, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I understand.
So we're going to shoot these fridges up because chocolate
they
freezes
can already
up.
dictate parts of the weather. You know how they can like, make it rain and stuff by shooting the things into the sky and stuff like that. So I think it'll probably slowly more go that way where we won't even notice as people.
I think it'll go
like we'll just be like, oh, cool, food is like grown there now. Like we'll just go with it as we always have, and like little strange things will happen over time that humans won't even notice rather than us turning into robots.
Don't you think that stuff like genetic splicing and, you know...
Ben
I'm not talking about gills, all right. I'm talking about just like... No, but even if you start... Like, you're talking about, oh, they'll do it for getting rid of cancer and stuff. Yeah, like, fine. That, but why stop there? Why not go for a fucking heart that's going to pump for 100 years? And why not go for really great thigh muscles that can run really fast? So,
yeah, definitely.
And then if you've got one country, you know... Because the laws in China about all this stuff is not as strict as it is in the West. So if China starts making these fucking, you know... gene-spliced superhumans, it wouldn't be in any other country's best interest not to start doing that. No, seriously. I'm being silly.
I
agree.
Especially for the Olympics.
I do agree.
Genetics arm race. It just will.
I agree. It's just so much of this sounds like your fantasies when you're like,
it does. It's kind of like, Olympics.
It's not a fantasy, it's my nightmares. It's like, I can't keep up with this shit.
It is kind of realistic in a fucked way.
Of course, I'm always fucking right.
It sounds like you just want us all to join in robot wars. Like that's how it's going to end. Like the TV show with nerds playing out little fucking, you know, those thumping robots they make and they explode in a...
If you had the option to genetically alter your child,
penis,
would you have done it?
Yes. No, man, I dig my kids. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, no. But you say, of course, you can't, you know, in retrospect, I would have made him less of an annoying...
You know what? If my kid gets... Either of my children become sick or, you know, there's an inoperable cancer or they have something that goes wrong, then, yeah, probably I would wish that I didn't have that in me or my wife. But there's nothing... I look at them and go, well, you're people.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing... I didn't go, oh, I wish you came out taller or...
Have you ever held a brand new born baby?
I've held a...
Like a real freshie?
No, like 2 days old. 2 days old.
So when you see them, I think very few people look at them and think anything other than like, whoa, they're perfect and this is fucking weird. Like,
I didn't think that.
Oh, I did.
I held mine at first and I was like, your face is fucked up.
Really? This is not my son.
Like I was trying to find myself in the kid. I'm like, who are you, you little fucking weirdo? Because they're a bit squished and... They're a bit mushed up. Like they look like they've just been wrestling.
See, I think
they're all a bit
nieces,
fucked
so
up. Their noses over there, you know, because they've come out of the pelvis and they're all like, bleh. And you're like,
newborn.
are you going to pop
conehead.
out? Like,
you
know, it took a little
while.
while.
One. That was pretty fucking holy. That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. My whole thing was like when you see them, it's like very few things. I can't imagine heaps of people being like, I really wish it had green eyes.
No. I'm not saying that.
It's like,
I'm not saying
I wish this thing had gills.
Where's its robotic legs?
I'm not saying that. Okay, so if you'd had the option to put in like a gene that would make it an amazing violin player or an amazing...
Lame.
Would you have done that?
Oh, right. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's what
sure.
I mean.
Yeah, upgrades.
Yeah, upgrades.
So we're computerising upgrading. So we're like scrolling through, like going, what do you want?
You can give
it's
it
like the
3
Matrix
special
now.
skills.
It's like, I know Kung Fu.
But would
like
you
the
have
kid
done that
comes
for
out, whoosh, like, what do you... Yeah, maybe. If I could update...
Yeah, like good at maths, good with money.
Or like, you had options like, I won't suffer depression.
But
There's depression
that'd be
in your
nice.
genes,
I
we
would
can
definitely like to take
scrub that
depression out. But I would also...
So it's
I
gonna
don't
be
want to set my kid up coming out just ready to fucking rock and roll. Like,
They need to be scarred up,
They
right?
need to learn to fail, and they
That's
need
true.
to learn to face failure, and they need to grow from their failure. You can't just come out and go, I'm fucking kick-ass. You know, like... Because they would, by 5, you're all dead. They'll kill you all.
It's like you said, Jen, the other day. If you're peaking in
building sociopaths, you know?
Yeah, Jen said the other day, if you're peaking in primary school, there's really no way up.
There's no way, it's
Imagine
only
peaking
down.
at 2. Yeah, like peaking in like preschool. Like that kid is fucking killing it.
Killing it.
Nowhere to go.
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, unfortunately we are.
friends.
Do you guys want to leave a note on birth before we wrap it up? Kochan?
Oh boy. I'm good. I'm good. No, I got nothing.
It's amazing. Look, it's I don't know how to wrap it up.
Sounds like a drug-fueled fucking party.
It's an experience. You throw yourself into it with all of your gusto, and it wasn't. I didn't show any emotion. I didn't break. I stood there with my partner, and it wasn't until my child was born that I went out into the room and then just.
Did you have a cry?
Yeah, I broke down. Like it all came out. And then I came back into the room.
Holding it all together for so long.
And I was like, so the nurse left the room. My newborn is sitting there in the bassinet. My wife's having a shower. And I was like, that was fucked up. And I look over and the nitrous oxide tube is still there in the wall. And I was just like, I'm getting high.
Yeah. Nanging at your own son's birth.
I got high.
Guys, thanks for coming to a live Oink Time.
Thank
Please
you.
give it up for our guests, Ben Kochan and Cam Knight.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.